Alex knew something was off the moment Carrie started talking about her night class. She was animated, almost too excited, explaining how she wanted to pick up a new skill in graphic design to help with her career. "It's just twice a week," she said, sliding the course brochure across the table. "I thought it would be fun, and it's at the community center downtown. Nothing too formal." Alex had no reason to doubt her at first. Carrie had always been ambitious, eager to learn and grow. But over the next few weeks, her enthusiasm for the class seemed to wane. She never mentioned what she was learning, rarely brought home any materials, and always seemed evasive when Alex asked about her progress. One Thursday evening, Alex noticed Carrie texting more than usual before she left for her class. She had a habit of glancing at her phone and smiling before quickly tucking it away. "Who's that?" Alex asked casually, leaning against the kitchen counter. "Just Sarah," Carrie replied, referring to her coworker. "We're planning a team lunch next week." Alex nodded but couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. He didn't press further, though, chalking up his suspicion to overthinking. A week later, Alex came home early from work. Carrie's class wasn't until later that evening, so she was still at home, scrolling through her phone on the couch. "Hey, I've been thinking," Alex said as he dropped his bag by the door. "Maybe I'll sign up for a class too." "What's that place you go to again?" Carrie froze for a moment, her eyes flickering with something Alex couldn't quite place. "Oh, the community center," she said, forcing a smile. "But I think most of the classes for this session are full." "I'll check anyway," Alex said, pulling out his laptop. Carrie stood quickly, grabbing her bag. "I've got to get going," she said, kissing him on the cheek. "Don't wait up. I might stay late to ask the instructor some questions." Alex watched her leave, a sinking feeling settling in his stomach. That night, curiosity got the better of him. Alex searched online for the community center Carrie had mentioned and found the course catalog. There was a graphic design class listed, but the timing didn't match Carrie's schedule. According to the catalog, the class met on Monday and Wednesday mornings, not Thursday evenings. Alex's heart raced as he stared at the screen. Why would she lie about something so simple? The following Thursday, Alex decided to follow her. He waited until she left the house, then grabbed his keys and trailed her car at a safe distance. She drove downtown, just as she said she would, but instead of pulling into the community center parking lot, she parked in front of a small cafe. Alex watched from his car as Carrie got out and walked inside. Moments later, a man joined her at the table by the window. They exchanged smiles, leaning in close as they talked. Alex's chest tightened as he gripped the steering wheel. He wanted to burst into the cafe and demand answers, but he forced himself to stay calm. He needed proof, something undeniable. The next morning, while Carrie was in the shower, Alex searched her bag. He found the attendance sheet for her supposed class, neatly folded at the bottom. His stomach dropped when he saw the handwriting scrawled in the margins. "Eric, 555-768-4321. Alex stared at the paper, his mind racing. Eric. The name she hadn't mentioned, the man she had met at the cafe. His number, written so casually on the attendance sheet, felt like a slap in the face. Alex couldn't focus at work the next day. His mind replayed the scene at the cafe, and the damning name and number scribbled on the attendance sheet. He wanted to confront Carrie immediately but decided to wait until she came home that evening. He needed time to calm the whirlwind of emotions inside him: anger, hurt, and betrayal. When Carrie walked through the door that night, Alex was sitting at the kitchen table, the attendance sheet placed in front of him like evidence in a courtroom. "Hey," she said, pausing mid-step. "What's with the serious face?" Alex leaned back in his chair, his gaze steady. We need to talk. Carrie's smile faltered. About what? This, Alex said, tapping the sheet with his finger. Care to explain why your class has someone named Eric's number on the attendance sheet? And why the class isn't even scheduled on the nights you've been leaving the house? Carrie's face went pale, her eyes darting toward the paper. For a moment, she said nothing, her mouth opening and closing as if searching for the right words. Alex, it's not what you think, she said finally, her voice trembling. Then what is it? Alex demanded, his voice rising. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks a hell of a lot like you've been lying to me. Carrie pulled out a chair and sat down across from him, her hands clasped tightly together. Okay, she began, her voice shaky. I haven't been honest with you. But it's not what you think. Then tell me what it is, Alex said coldly. Carrie took a deep breath, her eyes pleading. Eric he's part of the class. We've been working on a side project together. It's nothing serious, just something for extra credit. Alex raised an eyebrow, his skepticism clear. Extra credit? In a class that doesn't even meet on Thursdays? Carrie hesitated, her face reddening. I didn't want to tell you because I thought you'd be upset. Eric and we meet outside of class sometimes to go over ideas. But it's strictly professional, Alex. I swear. Professional? Alex repeated, his voice dripping with sarcasm. So professional that you've been meeting him at a cafe instead of the community center? So professional that you didn't bother mentioning him to me at all? Carrie's eyes filled with tears as she reached for his hand. Alex, I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry. I know how it looks, but I promise you, there's nothing going on. I would never do that to you. Alex pulled his hand away, his jaw tightening. Do you have any idea how hard it is to believe you right now? You've been lying to me for weeks, sneaking around, and now I'm supposed to just take your word for it. Carrie wiped at her tears, her voice trembling. I know I messed up, Alex. I should have been honest with you. But please, believe me when I say that Eric means nothing to me. You're the only one I love. Alex stared at her, his chest tightening with a mix of anger and sadness. He wanted to believe her, wanted to think this was all just a misunderstanding. But the image of her and Eric at the cafe, leaning in close and smiling at each other, burned in his mind. The tension in the room was unbearable as Alex stood abruptly, pacing the kitchen. All right, he said finally. If it's just a professional relationship, then you won't mind showing me your text with him. Carrie froze, her eyes widening. What? You heard me, Alex said, turning to face her. Let me see your texts. If you've got nothing to hide, this shouldn't be a problem. Carrie hesitated, her hands trembling as she reached for her phone. She unlocked it slowly and handed it over, her face pale. Alex scrolled through her messages, his heart pounding. Most of the texts were mundane, conversations with friends, updates from work, but then he found the thread with Eric. His chest tightened as he read the messages. Eric. Had a great time last night. Let's meet again soon. Carrie. Me too. Same time next week. Eric. Can't wait to see you again. You're amazing. Alex clenched his jaw, his hand shaking as he put the phone down. Care to explain this? Carrie's face crumpled as she started to cry. Alex, it's not what it looks like. I know it sounds bad, but I swear we're just friends. Friends don't text each other like that, Alex said, his voice cold. Friends don't sneak around and lie about where they're going. So tell me the truth, Carrie. Are you cheating on me? Carrie shook her head quickly, her tears falling harder. No, Alex. I'm not. I promise you, nothing physical has happened. I admit I crossed a line by hiding this, but I haven't cheated on you. Alex stared at her, his mind racing. Her words sounded sincere, but the evidence painted a different picture. He didn't know what to believe anymore. Here's the deal, Alex said finally, his voice steady but firm. You're going to stop seeing Eric. No more meetings, no more texts, nothing. And if I catch you lying to me again, we're done. Do you understand? Carrie nodded quickly, her sobs shaking her body. I understand. I'm so sorry, Alex. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. That night, Alex slept on the couch, his heart heavy. He wanted to believe Carrie, to trust that she was telling the truth, but the doubt lingered, gnawing at him, making it impossible to let go of the thought that there was more to her story. Alex tried to convince himself that the worst was behind them. Carrie had promised to cut ties with Eric, and she'd been more attentive in the days since their confrontation. She cooked his favorite meals, initiated long conversations about their future, and even suggested they spend the upcoming weekend together, away from distractions. But the doubt lingered. No matter how much effort Carrie seemed to put into mending their relationship, Alex couldn't shake the image of her leaning across the cafe table, smiling at Eric. One evening, as Carrie was in the shower, Alex found himself staring at her phone, which she'd left on the kitchen counter. She'd given him access to it after their argument, a gesture meant to rebuild trust, but he hadn't touched it since. Now, his curiosity burned. Was she truly done with Eric? Or was she just being more careful about hiding her tracks? Alex picked up the phone, hesitating for a moment before unlocking it. He navigated to her messages and searched for Eric's name. The thread was still there, but the texts were gone. Deleted? Alex muttered, his jaw tightening. He checked her call log next. Nothing from Eric. Finally, he opened her email. At first, it seemed normal, work correspondence, promotional offers, but then he noticed a folder labeled Personal. Inside were drafts of emails that had never been sent. Eric, I don't know if we should keep doing this. It's wrong, and I'm afraid Alex is starting to suspect. But I can't deny how much I look forward to seeing you. Please don't hate me for this. Carrie. Alex's stomach churned as he read the words. The draft wasn't proof of a physical affair, but it confirmed his deepest fear. Carrie's connection to Eric wasn't innocent. When Carrie emerged from the shower, she found Alex sitting at the kitchen table, her phone in his hand. What's this? Alex asked, his voice quiet but sharp. Carrie froze, her eyes darting to the phone. Alex, you told me you'd stop talking to him. Alex interrupted, his tone rising. You swore to me that nothing was going on. But then I find this. He held up the phone, the draft email open on the screen. Carrie's face crumpled, tears filling her eyes. Alex, it's not what you think. Don't. Alex snapped, slamming the phone onto the table. Don't tell me it's not what I think. You lied to me. Again. How many more lies are there, Carrie? How far has this really gone? Carrie sank into a chair, sobbing. It hasn't gone far, I swear. I haven't slept with him, Alex. I haven't. I didn't know how to stop. He makes me feel. Don't finish that sentence. Alex interrupted, his voice cold. I don't want to hear how he makes you feel. The silence between them was suffocating. Alex stared at Carrie, his heart pounding with a mix of anger and heartbreak. Why, Carrie? He asked finally, his voice trembling. Why him? Why lie to me? Carrie wiped her tears, her hands shaking. I don't know, she whispered. I've been feeling lost, like something's missing. And Eric, he made me feel noticed, like I mattered. Alex's chest tightened, her words cutting deeper than any accusation. I've always noticed you, Carrie. I've always tried to make you feel loved. Was that not enough for you? It's not about you, Carrie said quickly, her voice breaking. It's about me. I'm the one who's broken, Alex. Not you. Alex stood abruptly, pacing the room. So what now? He demanded. You expect me to just forget about this? To pretend it never happened? Carrie shook her head, her tears falling harder. No, I know I don't deserve that. I know I've broken your trust, and I hate myself for it. But I want to fix this, Alex. I want to fix us. How? Alex asked, his voice bitter. How do you plan to fix this when you've been lying to me at every turn? When I can't even look at you without wondering if you're thinking about him? Carrie sobbed harder, her body trembling. I'll do whatever it takes, she whispered. Therapy, counseling, cutting all ties with Eric. I'll do anything. Just don't give up on me, Alex. Please. That night, Alex slept in the guest room, the weight of their conversation pressing down on him like a suffocating blanket. He wanted to believe Carrie's promises, to believe that they could move past this. But the draft email replayed in his mind, her words echoing over and over. He makes me feel noticed. For the first time in their marriage, Alex wondered if love alone was enough to save them. The days that followed were a blur of tension and silence. Alex and Carrie moved through the house like ghosts, barely speaking except for the necessities. Every glance they exchanged felt heavy, weighted with unspoken emotions and the undeniable fracture in their marriage. Carrie threw herself into overcompensating, filling the gaps in their relationship with desperate acts of affection. She'd cook elaborate meals, send Alex text messages during the day, and suggest plans to reconnect. But her efforts, no matter how earnest, couldn't erase the doubt lodged in Alex's mind. One evening, as Alex sat in the living room scrolling through his phone, Carrie approached him cautiously. Alex, she said softly, her voice trembling. He didn't look up. What is it? I've been thinking, she began, sitting down across from him. I know I've hurt you, and I know it's going to take time to fix this. But I really want us to try counseling. I think it could help. Alex finally met her gaze, his expression unreadable. You think talking to a stranger about your affair is going to fix this? Carrie flinched, tears welling in her eyes. It wasn't an affair, Alex. I've told you that. I didn't sleep with him. Do you really think that makes it better? Alex asked, his voice rising. You lied to me, hid your relationship with him, sent him messages about how much you looked forward to seeing him. How is that not an affair? Carrie's tears spilled over as she reached for his hand. Alex, I know I've broken your trust. But I love you. I've always loved you. Please, give me a chance to prove that I'm committed to us. Alex pulled his hand away, his jaw tightening. Love isn't just words, Carrie. It's actions. And your actions have shown me exactly where your priorities are. That night, Alex lay awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. His mind churned with conflicting emotions, anger, sadness, and a faint glimmer of hope that things could be repaired. But the thought of Eric loomed over everything. Alex couldn't shake the image of Carrie laughing with him at the cafe or the words she had written in the unsent email. He makes me feel noticed. The next day, Alex decided he needed clarity. He couldn't move forward without understanding the full truth. While Carrie was out running errands, Alex drove to the cafe where he had seen her with Eric. He parked a block away, his chest tight with nerves. Inside, the cafe was bustling with activity, the hum of conversation and the clatter of dishes filling the air. Alex approached the counter and ordered a coffee, scanning the room for any sign of Eric. After settling into a corner booth, Alex opened his phone and searched for Eric's number. It was still written on the attendance sheet he had photographed days earlier. His thumb hovered over the call button. He knew it was a risk. Reaching out to Eric directly could escalate things, but he needed answers. The call rang twice before a voice answered. "Hello? Is this Eric?" Alex asked, his voice steady. "Yes. Who's this?" "This is Alex," he said. "Carrie's husband." There was a long pause, and Alex could hear Eric's breath catch. "What do you want?" "I want the truth," Alex said firmly. "No excuses, no lies. I know you've been meeting with Carrie. I know about the texts. So tell me, Eric, what's really been going on between you two?" Eric sighed, his voice laced with tension. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble." "Then tell me the truth," Alex pressed. "Fine," Eric said. "We've been meeting for a couple of months. It started with her talking about how unhappy she was, how she felt like she'd lost herself. We connected, and things got close. But nothing physical ever happened, I swear." "Why should I believe you?" Alex asked bitterly. "Because it's the truth," Eric said. "Carrie wouldn't let it go further. She said she loved you too much to cross that line. But I won't lie to you. We had feelings for each other." Alex's grip tightened on the phone, his anger bubbling to the surface. "Feelings? You think that makes this okay?" "No," Eric admitted. "It doesn't. I'm sorry for my part in this. I shouldn't have gotten involved." Alex ended the call without another word, his hand shaking. When Alex returned home, Carrie was waiting for him in the living room. Her face lit up when she saw him, but her smile faded as she noticed his expression. "Where were you?" she asked nervously. "I talked to Eric," Alex said coldly. Carrie's eyes widened, panic flashing across her face. "You what?" "He told me everything," Alex continued. "How you've been meeting for months. How you talked about being unhappy. How you had feelings for each other." Carrie's knees buckled, and she sank onto the couch. "Alex, I don't," Alex interrupted, his voice hard. "Don't even try to deny it. I've given you every opportunity to tell me the truth, and you've lied to me every time." Carrie sobbed, burying her face in her hands. "I was scared," she choked out. "I didn't want to lose you." "You've already lost me," Alex said quietly, his voice trembling with emotion. The words hung in the air like a heavy weight, and Carrie looked up at him, her face streaked with tears. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't give up on us." Alex stared at her, his heart breaking. He wanted to believe her, to believe that they could rebuild what they had lost. But the trust was gone, shattered into pieces he wasn't sure could ever be put back together. "I need time," he said finally, his voice hoarse. "Time to figure out if I can ever forgive you." Carrie nodded, her sobs shaking her body. "Take all the time you need," she whispered. "I'll wait for as long as it takes." That night, Alex packed a bag and left the house. As he drove away, his chest ached with the weight of their fractured marriage. He didn't know if time would heal the wounds or if this was the beginning of the end. But for now, he needed space. Space to think, to breathe, and to decide if love was enough to overcome betrayal. The week Alex spent away from home was one of the longest and most grueling of his life. He stayed at a hotel just outside the city, his mind swirling with anger, sadness, and an endless stream of questions. Could he forgive Carrie? Could their marriage survive this betrayal? Or was it better to walk away and start over? Each day felt like a battle between his heart and his pride. He thought about the good times, the laughter, the love, the dreams they had shared, and wondered if they were worth saving. But then he thought about the lies, the deception, and the way Carrie had made him feel like he wasn't enough. By the time the seventh day rolled around, Alex knew he couldn't avoid the confrontation any longer. When he arrived home, the house was eerily quiet. Carrie was in the kitchen, her back to him as she stood at the sink, washing dishes. She turned when she heard the door close, her face lighting up with a mixture of relief and trepidation. "You're back," she said softly, drying her hands with a towel. Alex nodded, setting his bag down by the door. "We need to talk," he said simply. Carrie nodded quickly, her hands trembling as she gestured for him to sit. "Of course. Whatever you need to say, I'm ready to hear it." Alex sat at the dining table, his expression unreadable. Carrie took the seat across from him, her eyes locked on his, her breath shallow. "I've had a lot of time to think," Alex began, his voice steady but heavy. "About us. About everything that's happened." Carrie swallowed hard, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. "And?" Alex sighed, leaning forward. "You broke my trust, Carrie. You lied to me, you hid things from me, and you let someone else come between us. That's not something I can just forget." Carrie's eyes filled with tears. "I know," she whispered. "I know I've hurt you in ways I can't take back. But I want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you, Alex. If you'll let me." Alex studied her, his chest tightening. He could see the remorse in her eyes, the desperation in her voice. But was it enough? "Why?" he asked finally, his voice breaking. "Why did you let this happen? Was I not enough for you?" Carrie's tears spilled over as she shook her head. "It wasn't about you," she said, her voice trembling. "It was about me. I felt lost, like I didn't know who I was anymore. And instead of talking to you, I turned to someone else. I made the worst mistake of my life, Alex, and I hate myself for it." The room fell silent as Alex processed her words. He wanted to believe her, to believe that their love was strong enough to overcome the betrayal. But the pain was still raw, the wound too fresh. "I don't know if I can do this," Alex admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." Carrie sobbed, reaching across the table to take his hand. "Please, Alex," she begged. "Give me a chance. I'll do whatever it takes. Therapy, counseling, anything. Just don't give up on us." Alex hesitated, his heart aching as he looked at her. He thought about the life they had built together, the memories they had shared, and the love that still lingered beneath the hurt. After a long pause, Alex finally spoke. "I'll give us one more chance," he said, his voice steady but firm. "But there are conditions." Carrie nodded quickly, her tears falling harder. "Anything," she whispered. "No contact with Eric. Ever," Alex said. "If I even suspect you're lying to me again, we're done." "And we're going to counseling together." "Of course," Carrie said, her voice trembling. "I'll cut all ties with him. I'll do whatever it takes, Alex. Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance." The road to rebuilding their marriage was slow and painful. Counseling sessions forced them to confront the cracks that had been forming in their relationship long before Eric entered the picture. Carrie worked tirelessly to regain Alex's trust, being transparent about her every move and cutting off all connections to Eric. Alex, in turn, struggled to let go of his anger and doubt. There were days when he wanted to walk away, when the weight of her betrayal felt too heavy to bear. But there were also moments, small, fleeting moments, that reminded him of why he had fallen in love with Carrie in the first place. One evening, as they sat on the couch together, Carrie turned to Alex, her expression tentative. "Do you think we'll ever get back to where we were?" she asked softly. Alex sighed, staring at the floor. "I don't know," he admitted. "But maybe that's not the goal. Maybe we're meant to build something stronger. Something better." Carrie smiled through her tears, hope flickering in her eyes. "I'd like that," she said. Alex reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "So would I." Their marriage wasn't the same as it had been before, but perhaps that was for the best. Together, they were learning to rebuild not just their relationship, but their understanding of each other. And though the scars of the past remained, they served as a reminder of the strength it took to heal.